As many of you will remember, a few months ago, I wrote an open letter to Kendi asking him to have a conversation in a venue of his choosing. And I wanted to connect this conversation to a charitable cause. So I set up a GoFundMe to raise money for the United Negro College Fund, which many of you donated to. I wanted to talk to Kendi because he's a thought leader in the modern anti-racist movement, and because his work is often pointed to as the solution to America's ongoing race problem. The CEO of Twitter donated $10 million to Kendi's Center for Anti-Racist Research. So many important and influential people seem to think that Kendi's work is enormously valuable and that his ideas should be spread as widely as possible. Yet, Kendi has never engaged with his critics. And that's why I wanted to talk to him. If he was in the habit of engaging with alternative viewpoints with folks like John McWhorter, Glenn Loury, or Thomas Chatterton Williams, really anybody, then I wouldn't have made such a big deal of this. But he doesn't engage with any criticism of his views, which is a cardinal sin if you're claiming to be a serious thinker. And this is a wider problem among so-called anti-racist intellectuals. It's difficult to find a single prominent anti-racist that will talk to the people I've mentioned. There are exceptions, of course. Ta-Nehisi Coates, for instance, would frequently get into back and forth commentary with people like Andrew Sullivan back in their blogging days. And he had a conversation with John McWhorter at Blogging Heads as well. And that gave the public an opportunity to see his ideas in competition with alternatives. But he's the exception that proves the rule here. Can you imagine any great intellectuals, left, right, or center, never engaging with their most prominent critics? Can you picture Baldwin or Buckley or Chomsky or Hitchens going their entire careers without engaging their critics? Well, Kendi is being praised on that level by our culture right now, so it's time that someone holds him to account for his ideas. Whether that person is me or not is irrelevant. I'd be just as happy to see him go on Glenn Loury's show, for instance. In fact, I'd be happier. But it seems he won't do it. And that's his right, but it's my right to reveal to the public the kind of opportunities that he's turned down. So far, I've had several different universities, including the university that Kendi works at, offer to host a conversation between myself and him. I've also had TED, as in TED Talks, offer to host a conversation between us. And it seems he's turned all of these opportunities down. And there have now been 2 or 3 times where he's been asked publicly why he won't engage with his critics, and my name has come up. And his response has been, I won't engage with Coleman Hughes because he has misrepresented my views. And then he proceeds to give exactly 0 examples of me misrepresenting his views, because I haven't. Here's what he said when he was asked about debating me by bizjournal.com. Quote, I'm not going to debate someone who consistently and constantly misrepresents what I'm saying and then argues against their misrepresentation. The whole debate will be like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That's going to be the whole debate. So why would I waste my time? I'd be more likely to debate an actual faculty member. Okay, so this is hilarious. Notice the non sequitur there at the end. First, it was about me allegedly misrepresenting his views. Then, all of a sudden, it's about me not being a faculty member. I'm not sure what he meant by that, other than to allude to the fact that I don't have a PhD. Of course, Ta-Nehisi Coates didn't even finish undergrad, but I assume Kendi wouldn't dismiss him for that reason. In any event, it should be trivially easy to show an example of me misrepresenting him since I do it consistently and constantly, but he hasn't come up with a single example, because I haven't misrepresented him at all. His ideas are so explicitly radical that I'm not even tempted to misrepresent them. For example, he's written in Politico and the Washington Post that there should be a federal agency composed of anti-racist experts that have the power to reject any local, state, or federal law that they deem to be racist. Really think about that. Imagine the town you live in wants to change some local law. I don't know, raise or lower property taxes or something. In Kendi's America, this local decision would have to be pre-cleared by a panel of federal bureaucrats to ensure that it doesn't have a disparate impact on people of color. And the folks making this decision would be people like Kendi, people who have a frankly insane definition of the word racist. Kendi said on Ezra Klein's podcast that he considers cutting the capital gains tax to be racist because there's a racial disproportion in who would benefit. For Kendi, it doesn't matter if a policy clearly benefits the entire nation, Black people included. If it benefits white people slightly more, then it's racist. So imagine a group of people with that sort of definition of racism who have the power to reject any local, state, or federal policy in the entire nation and who can't be fired, even by the president. So they're completely unaccountable to you. There's nothing you can do to check their excesses. That would be far more powerful than the Supreme Court. He has said that he wants all of this explicitly. And if you doubt this, just read his article called Pass an Anti-Racist Constitutional Amendment on Politico.com. So this is the mind that Jack has endorsed with a $10 million donation. Although I have to think that many of the people nominally endorsing him are too smart not to notice how strange and simplistic and totalitarian his worldview is. But they're afraid to say it, because the culture of American elite spaces right now has cemented a taboo against criticizing any idea that successfully brands itself as anti-racist.